tuning in to the online broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing after shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Well, good morning, all of you fierce and fabulous fans of America's Next Top Model, Cycle 22. Welcome to ANTM's Chatting It Up. I am your host, Tony Moore, and I am joined by one of the fan favorites of this season. We have the very handsome Mr. Nyle DiMarco. Nyle, how are you?
Great. Thanks so much. I'm fine, and thanks for having me here.
Thank you for being here.
Well, I feel very welcome. Thanks.
Well, you should feel very welcome because I've gotten so many tweets and Instagram posts of people wanting to ask you so many questions, including, will you marry me and give him my number?
Yeah, I have to love my fans for that. So if they want me to marry them, perhaps I have to meet them first.
That would probably be ideal first before going into any sort of marriage.
Yeah, right.
So let's talk about your time on the show. First off, what made you want to try out for or audition for Top Model?
Really, America's Next Top Model was never on my mind. I never imagined that I'd ever be on it until they found me on social media. And
Wow.
they contacted me through this one website, and they asked me if I'd be interested in auditioning, and I said, sure, fine. And so my opportunity was there. I informed them that I'm deaf, and they didn't have any idea that I was, but we started the process, and it's been a really great experience.
Nice. Well, congratulations, because a lot of people have been discovered through social media. So maybe I should start taking selfies so that Tyra can find me.
Yeah, right. Actually, I've been presenting at deaf schools, and I've been explaining the importance of social media because if you'd like to get discovered, that's your best bet.
Exactly. So being on the show and going into the show, what for you was going to be the toughest challenge for you during this experience?
So I think that two things came up, and one was obviously I'm deaf, and I'm competing against this, everybody who's hearing on the show. But over time, that didn't become that wasn't an issue. I taught people sign and everything, and the people around me realized they should communicate with me more. And the idea that was daunting was there was no previous experience, so it was what to do.
Yeah.
And I got accustomed to everything that I had to do.
And you had actually just started modeling right before you got on the show, correct?
Yeah, you're right. Just before, still, it was like it's 1 year old. This whole thing.
Yeah. So, what did you want to learn, like being on the show and kind of being a new model to this industry? What did you want to learn or gain going into this competition?
So the one important thing that I wanted to gain from the show was, just the ability to network with all these well-known people on the show, and they're giving this really valuable advice, which we should take. And so I'm trying to, that's been my goal.
Yeah. So there were times on the show where you felt a little left out because you are deaf and you felt like people weren't trying to communicate with you. Tell us or describe your feelings on that.
So understand that it's tough. I understand that it's tough for them to learn ASL, but the competition was going on long enough that I felt people should have patience during the time there to work on their sign. I felt left out from time to time. I felt like I was taken for granted. Like, you take me for granted. I'm a smart person. I have a lot to offer. I have a lot of experiences that are different than yours.
Yeah.
So let's take advantage of the opportunity to learn from me. But they didn't take that chance. So
So was there ever a time other than the episode where they had to learn how to communicate with you? Was there ever a time that they sat with you and kind of learned at least some basic things from you as far as signs?
Yeah, we had some times where I was approached and they wanted to learn the alphabet or they wanted to learn some signs. And maybe the best one of all would be Dustin. He was really good at spelling really fast and well.
Okay, well, I want you to teach me something. Just a few basic like sign language things so that way I can, because I know none of it. So teach me some basic things.
Sure. So the first basic sign is hello.
Okay. Hello.
And this is nice to meet you.
Nice.
Nice to meet you.
Did I do that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice to meet
To meet you.
you.
Okay.
And I'm fine.
I'm fine. Okay.
Yep, I'm fine. How are you?
Oh.
How are you?
Oh wait.
How
Uh-huh.
are you?
Okay. So
That's how are you.
hello. To
Nice
meet
to meet
you.
you.
And I'm fine.
I'm fine.
And
How are you?
did I do
Perfect.
good? Yay! Good.
So you pick up quickly.
Well, I try. My mom says I'm a smart person too, and so you can advocate for me as well.
Great, that's good.
So what was your favorite photo shoot during the competition?
My favorite photo shoot that was last Friday. The dog photo
Yes.
with Yutsai, the photographer. He's really a great photographer, and that picture was ad worthy. I mean, to say that it could be in any kind of campaign. And all together on the show, I was topless. You know, just every time it's shirts off. So I was hoping that that's not my brand. But then this photo came out, and I'm fully clothed, you know, wearing a suit, and it was the best picture of the week. So that's my favorite shoot. That's my
Well,
favorite photo.
I have to agree that photo was amazing. You looked really great in it, and your eyes definitely popped, and you looked so relaxed with the dog, and you guys complimented each other. So it was a great photo.
Thanks. Thanks very much.
So throughout this competition, you know, with modeling and being deaf, you kind of have the ability to maybe express yourself even more. How did you use that to your advantage during the competition?
So first off, ASL requires body language. So it means that you're expressive in every way. And so with friends or family, you're signing and you're acting things out at the same time. You're using your body to communicate. So I felt that worked well with modeling in terms of bringing the energy out. And I knew what to do with my arms and my chest. And it's all these little things that matter. So it was a huge advantage for me.
Well, I would say that it is too. You're doing quite well throughout the competition. I would say that a lot of people see you as a front runner for the competition. Were there any times that you doubted yourself during the competition or felt like you weren't doing a great job or as great of a job as you wanted to?
So really, in terms of doubting myself, it was at the beginning episode where I didn't take good photos at first.
Yeah.
They were the first and second and third, and I just thought, oh, well, none of these are good. I look good, but it doesn't mean anything. You've got to know how to take photos and work with a photographer. So in the beginning, I thought maybe I'll just be tossed out early, but I kept on.
Yeah. Well, one thing about the Top Model House was that there was no lack of drama. Were you happy to kind of not have to deal with all the drama that was happening?
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad that I wasn't able to hear that drama, and maybe that was a blessing. You know, I was able to focus on the competition and my own business, and I think that the drama on the show, it's not worth. It's not worth everything that's happening over it. It's really simple things that aren't worth the confrontations.
Yeah. Watching the show now, like, what are your thoughts and opinions about things that maybe you didn't see while you were there? What are your thoughts as you watch the episodes now?
I've never really thought about that question.
Because I'm sure that
I can't think.
I'm sure there's a lot of things that you're not aware that people are saying or things that are being done. So now you get to see.
So, in answer to that, really, during their interviews on the show, they'd talk about me, and it'd be something negative, and I thought, oh, you should have confronted me in person, or you should have at least approached me in person about it instead of me finding out about it in this way. But
that's generally the thought that a lot of contestants have, is that during those interviews is where you really find out what someone thinks about you. And for you, is it
right?
Is it like reliving those moments again when you're watching the show and someone says something?
Yeah, you're right. It's a strange feeling to know this thing happened half a year ago.
Yeah.
And I'm finding some new aspect of it now.
Does it make you think differently of them? Because I'm sure your relationships have gotten a lot better since the show.
Yeah. It doesn't make me feel as though I look at them differently. I know that it was during the show, and our mindset was different at the time, and we were thinking we want to win this, and we all looked at each other in that way.
Yeah.
And it's all right.
Being on the show, now that the show is airing, is it different for you to have people like recognize you and know who you are? Like, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, I live in New York City, and a lot of people recognize me there, and it's the same in LA too. And I love it. I love my fans, and I will make time for them if they want to chat with me or take a photo with me. It's fine with me.
Yeah. Well, one fan, Trevor, had a question for you, and he wanted to know if you thought about moving to Los Angeles.
Well, I did think about moving to LA. I felt that my opportunities, there were so many in New York City, and so many things happen right now. And so I'd like to stay in New York, and if the opportunities change, I'm happy to move to LA. If LA wants me for acting roles, I'm glad to be here for that.
Yeah. Well, speaking of acting, you were in Switched at Birth as Garrett. What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, it was a great experience, and I was honored to be on national television, and I thought, this is my break, and my first break, and I'm hoping for more. Yeah. And so I'll have some more, I hope to have some more good news in the future.
Is there a show that you would love to be on?
I've wanted to be on House of Cards.
Yeah.
I feel like that's perfect because deaf people, we have deaf politicians out there, and I feel like there should be a deaf politician in the White House, and in the world, there are deaf politicians, and so that's my goal, to be on a television show like that.
Well, I'm going to vouch for you right now. House of Cards, if anyone is watching, Nyle is available, so scoop him up now.
Here I am. Yeah, I'm watching you guys.
So being on the show and meeting Tyra for the first time, what was that experience like for you?
So meeting Tyra, and at the same time you're meeting a person, but it's so overwhelming. And in person, there's so much more to her than just the name Tyra Banks. She's a beautiful lady, of course, and she knows seven languages, and she picked up sign really quickly as well.
Oh, nice. So she was able to sign with you while you were on the show?
Yeah, she knew several signs, yes.
And what did you think about Miss J and Kelly?
I love Miss J, and also I do love Kelly. We have that special bond on the show.
I would have to say, out of all of the judges, my favorite is always Miss J, because he has some of the most expressive comments without saying anything. And a lot of times you just watch to see what he's going to say.
You're right. It's funny. I love his energy, and I always love people with a lot of energy, and beautiful people.
Yeah. So who in the house were you the closest with?
So mostly I was closest to Dustin.
Yeah.
And the reason why was because the first day that we met, he was motivated to learn how to spell. He could spell the alphabet within 5 minutes. The whole thing I taught him. He was a really quick learner, great guy, and really fun too. He's a good friend to this day.
Were you happy to see him come back to the competition?
Yeah, I was thrilled that he came back. Yeah, absolutely. And he keeps me busy in the house for sure.
Did you guys during the show had any idea that the eliminated contestants were going to come back and vie for a spot on the show?
No. I knew that probably we would have a twist, right? But not that kind of twist.
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't like it, but I saw eliminated people back, and I'm thinking, no, you guys are eliminated for a reason.
Yeah. I don't know. I find that always interesting when they always bring the eliminated contestants back. But I mean, I guess for them, they have another shot. But then in the same token, it's like, you got eliminated. So that's not fair that you get to come back.
One of the reasons why I picked Delane was because I felt that we worked together from the first shoot. And I felt like I failed her because it was hard to communicate. It was the first shoot. She didn't know how to approach a deaf person. So I picked her because I wanted to give her a second chance on the show, but it didn't work out.
Well, we saw that she had quite a forgettable mind during the go-sees.
Yeah, she forgot 3 things and went back and forth. So yeah, if that had not happened, she would probably have been back.
Is it stressful to do the go-sees? Because each season I've watched, it always seems like there's so much pressure to go to all of the go-sees and get back on time. Like, what was that experience like for you?
Yeah, it was very stressful because timing was involved, and I didn't have enough time, and I needed to go. There were 4, and you have 3 hours.
Yeah.
So, which is not I mean, especially in LA traffic, it's
Horrible.
overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're sweating and you're running around, and it's crazy, but it's fun.
Yeah. Who in the house did you not get along with so much?
Really, I got along with everybody, but I think that I didn't bother to speak with Bello. That's one person that we didn't have a chance to speak with on the show.
Yeah.
It just we didn't bother to communicate with each other, but I don't know why.
Yeah. What did you gain most from being on Top Model?
I think obviously my fan base. I get the most from being on, or rather I got the most fans from being on that show. And I have a lot of followers from it, which was great. And it also led me into all these networking opportunities, and I met more photographers and directors who wanted to work with me. So I felt that it's been great news.
And how was it for you to sort of be a representative of the deaf community? Did you feel pressure going into this competition to represent everyone well?
Yeah, I did. I do and did. It's not a burden. It's the idea that I wanted to represent the deaf people well, because altogether, there are deaf celebrities out there. There are deaf people on reality shows, but rather in terms of celebrities and in terms of reality shows, I felt that deaf people were not represented. So I wanted to represent them well.
Yeah.
And also there is the idea that if I did one bad thing that didn't come off well on TV, it wasn't pretty, then that one act would be people looking down on the deaf community as a whole. Yeah. So there was pressure in that sense, but everything went fine.
Yeah. Who are some of your inspirations? Like, who are the people that inspire you?
You mean in the deaf community or in general?
Just in general.
My modeling inspiration is David Gandy. And he's from England. He's a British model. And he's a very masculine model in the sense that we have the same features. And many people say that they compare us. And I really like his work. And I hope in the future that we'll to do the same amount of work that he's done.
Yeah. And what about in the deaf community? Is there someone that you look up to or that inspires you?
Yes. I look up to Frank. repeat that. I look up to Frank Turk,
Mm-hmm.
and he is a deaf guy in my community and in the deaf community, and I feel as though he's the one who keeps the deaf community together in terms of giving back a lot to the deaf community and to deaf children. He focuses on deaf leadership and leadership in general, and so how much he gave back to the deaf community, that's my inspiration for what I want to do. And if I reach that status of celebrity, I want to give back to the deaf community in the same way.
Yeah. Well, I feel like you are definitely going to reach celebrity status, so you have no worries there. Actually, you're already considered a celebrity, so.
Well, thank you. Thanks. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of inspiration, you've inspired a lot of fans, and as I said earlier, there were a lot of fans who had some questions, and so I'm going to get to those. Cody asked, what have you learned about yourself as a model in this competition, and what advice would you have given yourself looking back on the competition?
So one thing that I learned from modeling, it's cutthroat.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a cutthroat industry, and it's tough. You've got to do well. You've got to keep up with yourself, and that's tough.
Yeah.
If I could go back and tell my old self something, it would probably have been just have fun, because at the beginning, all I had was nervousness,
Mm-hmm.
and that impacted my image.
Yeah.
So just have fun, and it'll all be okay.
Well, that's really good, because I mean, this industry in general is very cutthroat, and I think that if you are confident in yourself and you believe in yourself, then is no matter what people say in this industry, you can definitely excel and go far.
Yeah, definitely. You're
Yeah.
right. Exactly right.
Trevor also asked, what would your dream job be as a model?
So my dream job would be working with Hugo Boss.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that's a great fit. Their brand and my brand, I think, look
Yeah.
very much the same one day. I hope
Yeah.
to have that opportunity.
I think if I were a model, I think I would have to go with like a food brand, because that's what I like Popeyes or KFC or something like that. Papa John's. Be a spokesperson for that. Just like holding the pizza, smiling.
Maybe there's an opportunity in that. Fine.
Let's hope so. I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
Yeah.
So also we had some Instagram questions, and James Dean 06 asks, is there a designer you would like to walk for or shoot with?
So there are many designers that I'd love to walk for. I think I would probably pick Carmen Mark Valvo.
Mm-hmm.
I feel these are really interesting clothes, and I'd love to wear them and walk for them. I feel as though I can sell them.
Yeah. Have you were in New York Fashion Week, correct?
Yeah, I was.
What was that experience like? Was that your first time doing something in New York Fashion Week?
Yes, it was my first time for New York Fashion Week,
Mm-hmm.
and I was involved in another CFDA Fashion Week last summer, but this one was the first where you can see the challenges, because there are so many beautiful models out there.
Yeah.
There are good-looking models out there competing for the spot on the runway, but it's a great experience, and I enjoyed
Yeah.
myself.
Did you feel pressure? Like, were you nervous?
I didn't feel pressure or nerves or fear. I just felt like going on with it. I'm
Mhm.
confident, and that's why.
Yeah. Baby Veal 3, I'm sure I totally just butchered that. My bad. But she wants to know, when was the moment you realized you love modeling?
When? All right, I think that the photo with the dog photo, I really worked great with Yotsai, the photographer,
Yeah.
and it's just a good collaboration. And like the photo shoot felt like we were like it was the idea of modeling, and I felt this is me. You know, I can do this for the rest of my life, hopefully.
Yeah.
So there was that.
Did he ever give you any advice as far as modeling and how to move and without yelling?
Yeah, he gave me a lot in terms of chest forward and to the camera. So there's the secret is that you're showing energy and trying to do different headshots, like the different movements as much as you can, so that you have all these different options rather than just like a lot of different photos of the same pose.
Was there a photo shoot that was a bit of a challenge for you?
I think that the most challenging one was the Bound by Love with Delane. So I was tied up with ropes and we couldn't communicate, and there's no space to work with. So that was tough.
And especially with that being the first challenge and not everyone being acquainted with everyone, I'm sure that was tough, and everyone's trying to find their light and trying to and then being bound by everyone.
Yeah, right. It was difficult. It was difficult. It was very tough, and I'm glad that I made it through that competition.
Yeah. So recently, there has been discussion of a tweet that you did, and we're going to briefly address it, and then we're going to not talk about it anymore. So there was the tweet concerning your sexuality, and you retweeted that you were fluid. What do you want to say regarding, or how would you address that tweet?
So really now that tweet has gone viral, and there are articles and articles about it, which I'm fine with, but I feel like there's more to me than my preference. And I think that preference itself is more in the realm of neutrality. And so one should focus on me and my deafness, my culture, where I grew up. I'm from a deaf family myself, fourth generation. And that's interesting, more interesting.
Yeah.
And more so than one's preference.
I totally agree. I think people fixate on one aspect of a person, and there's a whole lot more to you. And I think throughout the show, we've definitely been getting to know you more. So I hope that people continue to get to know you and not just that one aspect of you.
Right. Yeah. Definitely don't want to be branded for a tweet, and there's so much more to me.
Well, trust me, you have a lot of options. So, I have a lot of people who are waiting for you. So you let me know, and I will play matchmaker, and I will hook you up, and you'll be married to someone.
Great. Thank you.
So with acting was pretty much your first passion before modeling. What type of character do you foresee yourself playing?
I think that I was in. Sorry, let's back up a minute. Just back up and repeat that. So the first movie was an independent film I was in, and I was a villain. So I really enjoyed that experience, and I really wanted to become more invested in that type of role in the future. Like I wanted to be a villain.
Yeah.
And continue to.
It's so good playing the bad guy, especially when you're a good guy, to be able to play bad. Like, I think everybody wants to play the bad guy.
Right. It's like total opposites.
Yeah.
So that would mean that I'm a good actor if I could pull it off.
Who would you love to work with? Like, is there a specific actor or actress that you would love to work with?
Yeah, there are many. I have many in mind. I would pick Johnny Depp for an actor. It would be a huge honor to work with him, and really, he's really great. And Eddie Ray Mancher. He was in Stephen Hawking, a Stephen Hawking film, where he was an excellent actor, really skilled performance, and I'd love to work with him. I feel like he has a lot more to teach and offer as well.
Yeah. What type of movie genre would because I'm a romantic comedy guy myself, so I see myself in one of those types of movies. But which movie would you want to be? Would you want to be in like a horror or action?
Yeah, I think more of an action film, but I haven't really thought about which genre I'd love to be involved in. I'm new to this, so
Yeah.
I'd love to experience different things and then realize which genre
Which
I'd like
genre?
the best.
Yeah. So, with, you know, had you ever watched Top Model before you got on the show?
So I rarely watch television. I've had no time for television. I was traveling the world, and
Yeah.
I love life. And I watched only one episode, and that was before ATM.
Well, that was good. At least you got one in.
I'm sorry. I watched one cycle of ATM. That
Yeah.
was all I'd been exposed to.
What, and you just mentioned you were traveling the world. What was your favorite place to go to and visit?
So it's tough to pick a favorite place. I've been to Asia and Europe, America, Central America, but if I had to pick a place, it would be Cuba, because it was a communist country at the time. I went 4 years ago, and the
Yeah.
experience was overwhelming in a sense to see people stuck in this system. It was, I was concerned, but at the same time, they seemed so happy, and
Yeah.
it's a beautiful country.
Is there a place that you haven't gone to that's still on your list to go?
Yes, on my list is South Africa.
Mhm.
I'd love to go there, and Namibia rather, South Africa. There are so many beautiful cultures there, and I'd love to experience that myself.
Yeah. So before we run out of time, what is the one thing that you want people to know about you and your experience on Top Model? I'm sure there's probably a lot of things that you want people to know.
Yeah, very much so. One thing.
Or two.
Really, I want people to know that there's a lot more to. I hope that people will become more invested in deaf people, and there are more to deaf people than they think. And so you're seeing that through me.
Yeah.
And I feel as though I'm the face of the deaf community now.
Well, it's definitely something that people should be aware of, and I think that we all should take time to learn how to communicate with others, and not just through social media, but just through any aspect of how to, whether it's a different language or sign language or anything like that. We should all learn how to just communicate with one another.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
And also, as a deaf person, I don't mean that I'm depending on somebody else as an interpreter, but 100% of my shoots in real life, there's no interpreter there. I'm not working, through anyone else. So I just want people to understand that I don't need an interpreter for my shoots themselves. It's just body language and communication.
Yeah. And I know that you said that you filmed Top Model like over a year ago. Now that Top Model is airing and you are heavily pursuing your modeling career, what things have you done so far while the show has been airing?
I've been doing a lot of freelance work. I've worked with clothing companies, and there are some clothing companies that I'll be working with this week, and that's what I've been doing mostly. There's a project in mind that I wish I can tell you about, but it's coming.
Well, you'll have to let us know so that way we can give you full support on it.
Yeah, I can't make the announcement yet, but it's upcoming later on.
I wish you all the success in the world, and I'm pretty sure you're going to go super far, and I can't wait to see all of the things that are going to happen to you.
I hope so, and thanks so much for having me here today.
No
It's really been a
problem.
pleasure. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you guys for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV's ANTM Cycle 22 chat with Nyle. If you want to find me, you can log on to any social media platform at Lounging with Tony or my website, loungingwithtony.com. Thank you once again, Nyle, for joining us. And make sure you guys
Thank you,
continue to...
Thanks so much.
No problem. And thank you guys. Make sure you continue to watch and support Nyle on this cycle of ANTM, which is now on Fridays on the CW. We'll see you next time for another fierce and fabulous chat right here on AfterBuzz TV.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.